Here, coming off game Saturday night, just going back and watching it, seeing the way that our guys played, the way they responded, so very proud of our football team. And, there was adversity, definitely not the start that we wanted. Just really in all phases, had some mistakes, there early, defensively, I think allowed, 5 of the first 6 third down conversions. They were able to have, 2 extended drives, really kept possession of the ball. We had 1 possession in the first half, went 3 and out, which is, you never want to do that. We struggled to really get any rhythm or anything going, there early, but, being on the road, hostile, adverse situations, that showed up. I mean, our team, just did a remarkable job of being in control of the things they could control, of going out there and, playing, discipline, being able to, respond the way that they're trained to respond. And, it's, their heart, their determination, and, just the whole team as a group, did the things that were necessary. The 2-minute drive offensively to go down and score before the half was huge. It was great. Tate made a couple of great throws. On that drive, we had a couple of big plays that we definitely needed, and then to be able to come back there in the first drive of the second half, and had a couple of third down conversions, big run. That was just it was everything that we needed. And you have those rivalry games, there's going to be the momentum swings, there's going to be the ups and downs, and our guys, they were unbelievably confident throughout, and even through some of the challenges that we faced. I mean, they were able to rise up, and I'm just really proud of them. I thought a couple guys that I mentioned yesterday to the team, I thought Keem Dent played his best football game since he's been at Florida State. I mean, he was absolutely remarkable. And, he was, some of the tackles he made in the open field against really talented backs, was impressive. I thought that he played with confidence. He just he had whether we're blitzing him, whether he's in coverage, whether he had to make those space plays. Man, he was on it, and really proud of that young man. He's continued to get better. We have big expectations for him, and then to see him continuing to grow even in his last year eligibility, it's impressive to see, and we need to continue that as we go into this week. But I wanted to make mention of him, and then I thought Ja'Kai Douglas's play on the 4th down was a huge play in the game. Tate did a great job getting the ball out. Ja'Kai only had the 1 catch, but man, what a big one! And you just see that's a guy that's really. Made a wonderful impact for us. He had a huge game at Pitt. He's made a couple big plays, throughout the course of the year, and that was a big play and a big moment to continue to drive, to let us go down and put the game leading field goal there at the end. So. Just proud of our guys, proud of the resiliency they showed. It was definitely a team win. And defensively, it was awesome in the second half, and it was what we needed, and to finish up the regular season, undefeated was big for us, big for our program. Puts us in position this week as we get a chance to go compete for an ACC championship. It's going to be one heck of a matchup. I've got all the respect in the world for Louisville and who they are, and you see the playmakers that they have. You see the coaching staff and the schemes. This is a very complete football team. Offense, defense, special teams. They're going to challenge. They've got explosive players. It's going to be a heck of a game, and we're excited for the opportunity. Got a lot of belief in our team and what we can do, and like I told our guys yesterday, I'm extremely excited because we're 12 games into the season, and I see areas for improvement. I see a lot of areas where we get to continue to grow and get better, and I see a football team that's hungry for that. And that started last night. We went out, had a very spirited practice. I thought our guys did a great job in the weight room. They went out on the practice field, really locked in the meeting rooms to find the corrections, make the corrections, and work to apply to get better throughout the course of this week. And we got off to a great start on Sunday. I can't wait to get out on the practice field here tomorrow and continue to take the strides that are necessary to go be better than what we've been. And it was a big win, and obviously, anytime you can be state champs and to do that for back-to-back years, it's something that's important to our program, and definitely one that will be talked about and remembered.
First question will be Chris on your left.
I'm gonna start you off with a 2-for-1. 2-for-1. Yes. Tate, how did he come out of the game physically feeling? And secondly, how much easier is it for a guy to make a second start after making a first start, in the sense of just a lot of the other stuff is dismissed because you're doing it again?
Yeah, I think that for that to be your first start of the year, and first start in year, in a couple of years, for Tate. I mean, there's a lot that goes to it, and playing in that game, that rivalry, in that environment, it's a lot, and I thought he did. He did a good job. There's some things operationally that we gotta continue to be better. We had a couple of delay of game penalties, which it's I think anytime you're around Tate, you see. He is a hard person to get rattled. I mean, he's going to be pretty steady in all things that he does, and I think he showed that in the course of the game. I mean, just the urgency of communication. He sees everything. He sees everything right. There was just a couple times that we let the clock get down on us, and we were rushed in a couple of moments. Those are things that I think that will be an area that will be improved upon this week. Just because of the comfort of repetition, and it was a lot. It was a challenge to communicate. We got to do a good job around him, making sure that 10 other guys are operating as fast as we can as well. But I mean, that was one thing that we pulled in the game that we know we have to be better at. But I think that his demeanor and his confidence that he had throughout the course of the game is something that you can feed off of. And then he had a couple really big throws. The third down to Johnny, down in the red zone on the first touchdown drive, obviously the throw to Jaheim, but then the third, starting out the second half, the crossing route to Johnny was just a big throw and a big moment where one of those plays I already mentioned, the Ja'Kai throw. I mean, those are those times in the game that you need somebody to step up, and he did a great job of that. Obviously got hit, got hit pretty good, there when he was sliding down. I was glad he was able to come back in the game. I think I mentioned yesterday on the press conference, he when he got the clearance and he came over and told me he was good, and so we actually the play that we scored on with Trey was basically a double call where he had to see the look, he had to make the check, and it ended up in a 26-yard touchdown. And, I appreciate just his preparation and what he was able to do, and, what he did in helping lead us to victory.
It seemed pretty obvious that Floirda was focusing on Keon, not going to let him beat him. He's had a couple of games where he's kind of been a little more quiet. Is there something you guys to do differently to scheme him open, or is it just how defense are just taking what the defense gives at that point?
I mean, he had some opportunities. Obviously, you look. I mean, we were limited in overall play, numbers. I mean, the time of possession part of that game was something that made it difficult. But you try to give guys opportunities, and there were some that in his control, and then some that were out of his control, and things that where we can be better. And ultimately, he's a phenomenal player, and we want him to be able to make a positive impact on every game, and he did. He had a big catch to there in that opening drive of the second half. Obviously his punt return was a huge play in the drive to go and regain the lead, and so he's going to make an impact, and obviously we want to give him as many opportunities to impact the game in a positive way that we can. So we're going to continue with that. I thought Johnny played really well. I thought other guys were able to make their presence felt, and that's going to be a part of this week, is trying to find ways to get our playmakers and put them in the best position to go make plays.
Rebuilds of a program often aren't. The growth isn't often linear, but for y'all, I mean, it's been pretty remarkable. Going regular season wins 3 to 5 to 9 to 12. I guess what do you think has been the biggest key to the gradual improvement the last few years have been, and how much is it a testament to the players buying into all the steps it was going to take to get here?
Yeah, I mean, it all goes to the players. I mean, the players are the ones that they've made the commitment. They put in the work. You can set a standard, but if people aren't willing to push to the standard and hold themselves accountable to it, I've got an incredible staff. I mean, and even our staff meeting this morning, it's just the constant challenge for improvement, for growth. We have to work as a staff to be an example of that. I think you've got to be humble. Humble to in the work and to work. And anybody can start feeling good about where you are, or what you've done, or what you've been able to accomplish. And trust me, that's what I said earlier. One of the things I'm most excited about. We're 12-0. I mean, you have an undefeated regular season. It's fourth time in program history that you've been 4-0 in a season, or 12-0 in a season. But where do you go from here? I mean, there's nothing to be satisfied with. I mean, you're appreciative of the work you put, but I mean, I want better, and these players want better. We want to see that next step to be taken. And this week you get to play in a conference championship, and you win the game. All things are in front of you. So, I'm grateful for every player, for every coach, the entire department, and the support staff, all the investment that's gone in is to see those positive steps. But we're just getting started to where we're going. I absolutely believe that. And it's just when you have a special group of people you get to do this with, you want all. You want to see all the things they can do, all that they can accomplish, and it's a daily journey, and we have the choice today of what we want it to look like. And if we're willing to continue to push and continue to strive for that improvement, then I think you'll find good things on the other end of it.
You mentioned yesterday on the conference call the slow starts in the last few games, not starting as well as you guys would like, and I think you mentioned also that they were emotional games. How does that manifest? Is it just letting details slip, or why do you think some of those things have happened?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combination, because it's not just one area. It's been a variety of things that have shown up early where we have to be better. And I think I definitely don't. I'm pleased with the response. It's a heck of a lot more stressful when you start off, the way we have the last 2 weeks. But our guys are prepared. They understand. It's just it comes down to the execution of all the things that you work throughout the course of a week. And there was a couple of the third down conversions we gave up that, I mean, all the right intentions. Eyes are right. Just a small fundamental here or there that lost leverage, gained leverage. A little bit more communication. In that time, and so those things sometimes happen early in the game, and you got to take a deep breath, and you got to go and respond and make the correction, or just have a little bit more focus on the finer elements of putting yourself in the best position. We saw that there in the very first drive. I think I might have mentioned after the game, Trey Benson had an unbelievable game as the game went on. I mean, that first run that he had, I was pretty frustrated with the first run. And it's all the things that you work and you do, and he knows it. And he came over straight to the sideline, Coach. He knew it immediately, but it's just in those times where you want to do everything for your team, and you want this to be the perfect game. You want it to be, you don't have to go and almost do too much. And sometimes I think you see that in those emotional games. So we're going to have an emotional game come Saturday, and all we need to do is just go be us. And we know we're playing a great opponent. We're going to play. I mean, it's going to be a great atmosphere. It's going to be all the things that you want to be able to play in a championship game. But just go play your game, and trust what you see. Trust your fundamentals, and I think that will help contribute to getting to a better and faster start that we're accustomed to.
On the sacks that Tate took, the one in the end zone, and then I think there was one in the second half too. Is that just a matter of more reps, more live game reps, and under know what I mean, like the pocket feel and presence? Is that something that comes with more reps?
The third down. I mean, we got zero blitzed. I mean, and we knew that was a potential of what we could face and what we'd see, and there's things that we have to clean up, and just trusting what we saw, and reacting accordingly. And it was, and then the second one was really, I mean, it was a coverage sack that they they matched up the concept really well. They got good push, inside, and kind of the pocket collapsed on them. I mean, those are the two that there were two different extremes, but I think that the thing I was proud of Tate as much as anything is that he came out of that game and he did not put the ball in jeopardy. He was we knew that was one of the key components of this game. And sometimes when you face that, whether you face a house blitz, if you just throw the ball up, or if you don't, if those things happen, I mean, you're putting yourself in in harm's way. Even on the second sack where everything was covered down. They did a really nice job in it, not necessarily forcing it. Obviously he was trying to work himself out of the pocket and to be able to be a threat with that. But, I thought it was something he did really well. And then the pass to Ja'Kai was the exact same presentation of pressure of what we were sacked on. And he saw it, he reacted, he put the ball where it needed to be, and that was one of the biggest plays in the game. So you saw growth and progression throughout it, but I mean, those are all part of those learning experiences and things that you practice and the early application of it. They're within a contest.
I know it's a new coach and a different team and all that, but the fact that Louisville was the team that Tate had to come in and beat last year, does that give him any extra confidence going into this game?
I mean, it's a different team. I mean, they've got a lot of new players. They've got a lot of some guys that are returning, the guys that we're familiar with, and but it's. It is the next game. It's the next opportunity. I mean, you're playing in a championship game, getting a chance to the two best teams in the ACC are going to square off, and we got to go. And every player, whether no matter how many games you played up to this point, how many games you started, I mean, you got to go be your best in this one. And for Tate, for all, I mean, we all have to. Push ourselves to that level this week, and I know we're all excited about the opportunity.
Kind of off topic, but I know you take pride in what other FSU athletic programs do. Volleyball won the ACC co-ACC champion. They're going to be playing Friday, I believe, and then soccer's playing the College Cup on Friday. Just how much excitement does it build when other programs are doing great and you guys are playing ACC championship game the same weekend?
Oh, I mean, it's awesome, and for all the programs right now, I mean, to see the continued progression, Coach Penske and what they're doing in soccer, I mean, it's exciting. Coach Poole in volleyball, I mean, it's remarkable the season that they're having, and as we all continue to aspire for more and putting our best foot forward, I mean, it's what makes Florida State special. I mean, there is this is a athletic department and university that's striving for excellence, and we're trying to do that on the field, but also with what we're doing off the field. And when you're around successful, like-minded people that have a desire and a push to achieve to the best of our ability, I mean, it is contagious within a department. And we are huge fans of all the programs, and with basketball starting off, and Brooke and them, they've started off with a great start. Leonard and the basketball team had one setback, but then it came out with a remarkable response in a top 25 win. I mean, that's what this department's about, and we got great people, great student athletes. I mean, just really grateful for the opportunity we get to represent it, and obviously we have our shot come Saturday night.
Wanted to ask you about two Louisville playmakers, Jawar Jordan. What impresses you about him as a running back, his tracks, everything he does, and then Jamari Thrash as a receiver? Why is he so effective? What makes him such a difficult matchup?
I mean, both those guys are tremendous playmakers, and Jordan is he's fast, he's strong, he's tough, he's got really good balance and feet. If he gets in the open field, he's got game-changing speed. He's a dynamic player, and he plays in a great system that creates space for him, and he knows what to do when he gets it. It's going to be a great challenge for our guys. I think they've got three backs that are really good. So it's definitely a great backfield. Thrash is he's so good with the ball in his hands. He's a guy that can win in routes. He can change directions. He does have the vertical playmaking ability, but when he gets the ball in his hands, he's tough to bring down. He's a catch and run type of player. So you've got to be on top of him in a sense of being sticky in coverage and not allowing him to get too much space. And then, obviously whenever he does get his hands on the ball, you gotta rally to be able to get him down, because if not, he can definitely make you pay.
We'll go to Jordan, third row on your left.
Coach, they ran the ball 44 out of 60 plays. Did you expect them to run the ball that much, and how do you think the defense fared in the rushing attack?
Yeah, we did. I mean, we expected, and we knew that, them having a young quarterback that was really kind of a dual threat, and we knew there would be, probably more of those opportunities that would present themselves. And, I thought our guys did a good job. I mean, there was a few things, fit-wise where we were, we got misaligned. We had, a couple misfits that allowed bigger runs than what we wanted. But, I thought our guys, they battled, and they were tough. They were physical. I thought you sensed the pursuit, and, obviously the, that physical nature of what we wanted to play with, because it was it's a big offensive line. It's a couple of really talented backs, and then just the dynamic of what the quarterback brought to it. But I was proud of our guys, and to be able to make the adjustments there in the second half to try to eliminate some of those bigger runs that they had, it was impressive, and you were able to create a good number of TFLs and explosive plays defensively, and those guys they did a great job.
In the back right corner.
You made mention about in July you guys had a plan for where you wanted to be in December, and that it's kind of come to fruition. Was it like a supreme confidence you would be 12-0 at this point? Was it hallmarks through the season where you wanted to have certain guys here in October and then have them performing this way in December? Can you kind of maybe talk a little bit more about that?
As you want to see progression. And I know we've talked about it the last few years, but you want to be pushing and playing your best ball in November so that you can go into December and have these opportunities. And to be able to go through the year undefeated, that's a great thing. But you want to make sure that you're putting your players in a position that they are building throughout the course of the year. And guys get bumps, they get bruises, that you get tired. It's part of the journey. But you don't want to see that the fatigue to show up in their performance. You got to be smart with them. You got to make sure you're taking care of them. But you're building them up throughout the season, and at all points to times like this. This is what you do it for, to be able to play in a championship game, to be able to, to carry that over into all things that are beyond. And so, it is do I want to be 12-0? Absolutely, yes. That was to say that we knew exactly that it would be that. We felt like if we prepared and put our guys in the best position, that they could achieve to all that they could, and they've done that to this point. Obviously, we have a plan, this week of what we want it to look like, and what we believe we need to go play our best game come Saturday night, and we got to go execute that plan.
We'll go to Jerry, front row on your right.
Mike, the offensive line. It seemed a game where they had challenges with the opponent, and then also maybe with some injuries that they were fighting through, and it seemed they endured throughout the game. Could you talk about the if it's grit is the right word? Or
yeah, they have that, and we have we've got good depth on the offensive line, but it's definitely been tested. Guys that Rob Scott. He's had probably a guy that started 3 years here, and he's had a challenging year just of what he's had to deal with physically, in trying to get himself available throughout the course of the week, and we feel like he's getting getting there and going to be able to provide us more assistance. In that Maurice is he battles. It's just he got rolled up once. He's had to. He's had to fight and work through it. I thought Darius Washington played, probably his best game. I was really pleased with what I saw from him. You see, JB's getting better. We've got a really good group. Some of the challenges that showed up were real, but there's also times that I thought we did a lot of good things, and it's continuing to make sure that everybody's in flow and in sequence to maximize the opportunities we get, whether it's in protections, whether it's in a run game, and but this is our offensive line. They work their tails off, and it is a talented group. It's one that has been tested, but it's one that's responded with mental toughness, physical toughness, and I know they're going to be ready to battle, because we got our hands full this week with an extremely impressive Louisville front.
The defensive line rotation, especially early on, is the fourth quarter Saturday kind of with the high-level play Jared and Pat gave you late, kind of proof of concept of how you're hoping that plays out?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just with the defensive front. It's really with as many positions as you can. We're finishing the game strong. And when you're able to see guys, whether it's Byron or Gilbert, they're at the end position that can go in there and give you really quality reps throughout the course of the game. I mean, that's just that much more gas in the tank that that Jared and Pat will have in those critical situations. And I thought that was a heck of an ending in how those guys were able to play in the fourth quarter, and obviously the impact they were able to make. And so it is a big picture approach. And when I know I had mentioned it, I think it was even in the preseason. Just when you look at successful teams, when you can have that type of rotation throughout the course of the year, I mean, one, it's going to be needed. We've had guys that have been, been up and been down, but when you're able to get to this time of the year and they still have, that growth and you've taken off some of that, pound to their bodies. I mean, it's you get to play at a really high level, whether it's in the fourth quarter or it's the month of November, or now heading into December. So you're definitely excited about how it's all come together.
All right, we're going to go two more. Corey?
I know coaches like to look forward, but when you look back at this season, what Jaden Daniels did to the rest of the schedule, and his only touchdown against you guys came, with a minute left, down by 28, and then also what Clemson has done since you guys beat them. You're the only team to beat them in Death Valley. They're 8-4. They're top 20-ish team. I guess 12-0 is 12-0. That's always awesome. But those wins so long ago now, how important are they? How big are they in hindsight? What you guys did to Jaden Daniels and winning in Death Valley?
Yeah, we knew the challenge going in, and it's as the season progresses, there's always going to be different elements that show up, and we knew Jaden Daniels was going to be a really good player this year, and they had very talented receivers. We knew that it was a game that we were going to have to play at a very high level, and I thought our guys, they answered the call. Was it did they make some plays? Yes, they did. But our guys, they battled. We gave up an 80-yard touchdown on with a bunch of young guys getting their very first snap ever, and that was something that still shows up and still something that. But I thought for the majority of that game, I mean, especially the second half, just to do what we did was awesome. And you see how he's progressing. He's had one of the best seasons in college football history, probably. I mean, he's done a remarkable job, and he's a special player. But I was proud of our guys, then, and I'm still proud of them now for what they were able to do, in that game. And then, the Clemson win. I mean, that was, I knew it then. You never know what the final record's going to be, and obviously everybody has their own situations. But I knew going into that place. I mean, it was going to be hard. It was going to be tough, and to do the things that we did, being down, having to come back, to win it in overtime. I didn't expect anybody else to go in there and win, and that's something that we can, point to and say, that's one of those moments. It's something that we needed as a program. It's something that we needed for ourselves, just to show that we could go and do, in a very adverse situation. And nobody wanted to sit there Friday night being down 12-0 on the road. We've been there. And that's where you can take that experience and say, all right, man, stay true to who you are, go get better, let's make the adjustments that need to be made, and our guys found a way.
Last one, Ira. Last two, multi-layered.
Multi-layer, making up for it.
With Tate, two things. One, did the down and distance situations and the field position situations, did that affect what you were tempted to do with him in that situation, considering it was his first start in a long time, early in that game?
He's on early, yeah.
And then also, when he was coming off the field, was he seeing it? And when you watched the film, did he see what he?
Oh, yeah. I thought there were a couple of plays where maybe his eyes didn't get exactly where we wanted. I mean, but he saw it. I mean, he was on it. It was a worse combination of things you could hope for at the beginning of a game for a first start of the year, for him. And but that's where you sit there and you, like, the appreciation for him, like the poise, right? The ability to respond, the intelligence, the preparation. I mean, when we get sacked for a safety and we're down 12-0 and really haven't done anything on offense, to come back on that 2-minute drive and like the throw to Jaheim, I was like, all right, that's a real guy. And third down to Johnny, like he's throwing the ball before Johnny's even coming out of the break. Like, just, man, it makes me so proud. And I'll tell you, I was proud of Brock. I mean, Brock gets thrown in a situation, true freshman, been injured for most of the year. All right, here we go. And like he just like that, he's got something about him that is just really, it's really impressive. And but there is the expectation. I mean, you never know when your number's going to be called and what are you going to do with it. But I thought Tate saw the field extremely well. He knew where he wanted to go. Like I said, other than just a couple of plays here and there, but a lot of guys have that. And I mean, that's something where that goes back to the very beginning. I said, we're 12-0. We're here at this point, and there's so many areas we get to continue to improve. And now the challenge is on us to go get better.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too.
You guys, running game was pretty bottled up for a stretch of that game, but then it seemed like you guys kind of wore them down. I don't know if you wore them down or what happens with the run game. Is it more just waiting for them to make a mistake, or is it more just the constant pounding to
Oh, no, man. When we call it a run game, we call it to leverage in numbers. We want to make sure we have the leverage in numbers. Now, of course, you play good defenses. They should always have one more than you have if they scheme it correctly. And good defenses know how to do block destruction and find a way to avoid being in bad leverage. But I thought early we knew the run game was going to go on. I thought early we had a couple that we wanted back, whether we're not maintaining the block long enough or not seeing it quick enough. All those things kind of come for whether we're checking to the right run, to the right leverage, all of that comes to account. But I thought as the game got on, the guys, we got the GT counter that kind of got us going there in the second quarter. And also in the first, they did a good job of keeping us off the field early. I think we ran 4 plays in the first quarter. So, when that happens, every play gets, a little bit more evaluated because you might not get another opportunity because of the limitations that you have plays. But I thought once we got the GT counter going and Trey got going pretty good, it kind of helps us keep some drives going here later on.
How do you evaluate, I guess, Tate's full body of work Saturday? And I guess from my vantage point, it seemed like he, what to say about him, he seemed like made his biggest throws, his best throws in the toughest moments.
Yeah, all that's going to be a part of it, but the number one thing I loved about him is that he owned the ball. He didn't turn it over. When you get to those rivalry games and those kind of environments, which was a good environment, I thought Florida State fans showed it really heavily, too. That gave him a lot of support. But, you just own the football. And that's one thing we came into the game, like, Tate, just be yourself. But we might take, it might be a good play just to hold on to the ball. Just make sure we don't give it to them. So I thought he did a good job of keeping the ball out of jeopardy. He got hit. We missed the corner on one check, and he got hit. He owned the football. So, we kept saying as long as we ended with a kick. Now, of course, we don't want to take safeties and things like that. There's a couple of learning experiences. But for the most part, I thought he did what we asked him to do, and we got to make sure we're still building to things that he feels comfortable with and things that he can do.
Saturday, there was external, challenges with the Florida defensive front, and then some internal challenges, I think, maybe with offensive line injuries and whatnot. In particular, Maurice Smith. and that offensive line just seemed to endure into the fourth quarter and prevail. Can you talk about what was going on among the line during those parts of the game?
Well, I think, their confidence is always high. I mean, I thought they did a good job of protecting in obvious pass situations and, an obvious run. Of course, what I love about our group is we try to be the grown men of the offense, meaning, for example, we want everything to be on us, whether it be, I thought I heard Coach allude to a back not making the right cut, all that. We don't subscribe to any of that. I don't care if it's protection and the back misses protection, that's a sack on the O-line. If it's a run and the back misses the hole, we got to make the hole bigger. Anything that happens, we'd rather it be on us because, our guys, we do a good job of blocking out the noise, and we don't want to affect our guys that carry the football. So I like their mentality as playing as a unit to be able to withstand whatever we want to take accountability and responsibility for. So that's what I love about that group. But no, it's week 12, so you're going to have your setbacks. I mean, Mo, think about the second quarter, got his ankle rolled up. And he was struggling. I mean, but, he stayed in there, stayed the course, kept fighting, kept clawing, kept scratching. I rotated one guy in. That was Casey. They're late in the game. I thought Keandre came in and did a good job for us. I liked him because of his size and the matchup inside. They had some larger guys that was able to kind of come pay dividend for us at the end of the game. But no, man, that group, what I love about that group is no matter what the circumstance is, and because we used to be, we used to come in here and talk about the small victories and losses. Like, hey, man, y'all rushed for a lot of yards, and y'all got better and protected well, but we'd lose. So I like the resiliency to, take whatever negativity come for the offense, I want it to come to the O-line, and also find a way to win games. If it's close in the fourth, I believe in our guys is going to finish the game.
Obviously, you guys mentioned, you're going to have someone else step up each game. Ja'Kai Douglas had that catch in the fourth down, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
That
4th and 3.
really clinched that, helped clinch that game. I think it was a scoring drive. So just how his performance and just how Keon did. I know he had that one drop in the end zone, and then Johnny Wilson's great game, pretty good game.
I gave Ja'Kai a lot of praise because Ja'Kai's been here since we've been here, and we talk about seize your opportunity. We got a room full of good players, and they all want the football. And I told the guys, we see the eyes when everybody wants more opportunities. But the thing I praised about Ja'Kai was whenever his opportunities came, he's always made the play. Whether it was in the Pitt game, when you go back to Miami 2 years ago, when you go back to Notre Dame when we was down there, he caught the up route. You go to 4th and 3, the guy draped over him, strong hands, makes the play, gets up and celebrates. He has some good plays in blocking. I mean, Ja'Kai is a weapon in our offense because sometimes he's unaccounted for, and he can make you pay if he is. Johnny, the catch in the red zone when he ran the comeback with Tate, threw a great ball, caught it out of bounds. They reviewed it. He caught the ball. That was a big play in the game. That was a conversion. So, I mean, we got guys that step up when need to be stepped up. Of course, when you operate how we're operating, you got to find a reason. Well, didn't do. Man, our guys, when it's time, they've made plays and they've won games, and I'm really proud of that resolve, the discipline they showed, just to find a way to win, and all the things we're instilling in them to find ways to win games, especially in rivalry games, man. Johnny, Ja'Kai, Trey, LT had a good run on the GT counter. I mean, I was proud of just our ways of not being rattled, keeping the same eyes throughout the game, and finding a way to make sure we come out there with a win.
Coach Norvell alluded to this a little bit earlier, the delay of game penalties. Can you talk about who's supposed to be watching the play clock and then why that kind of showed up a little bit on Saturday?
We take responsibility as the coaching staff. We don't put that on them. That's on us to make sure whatever information we're giving them, they can operate at a high speed. And if we are getting those, that means we're not giving them enough time to do what we ask them to do. So we put that on us, not much on them. So we got to do a better job of making sure they're given adequate information and they understand what the play clock is at the start, whether it be 25 or 40, where the play clocks are, all these different kind of things. But, we got to do a better job of making sure they understand the urgency that it takes when you first taking the field on the P and 10.
You mentioned the play on the corner blitz that Tate got sacked. Mm-hmm. Number one, that could be a game-changing play. You guys had one against Clemson where it turns into a touchdown. I mean, everything was on the line right there for him to hold on to the ball, number one. And also, it seemed to me it was very well disguised. Is that a quarterback's fault at all for not seeing that, or the line not rotating over to see that, or is that just a really well-designed blitz?
Yeah, it
in
was an
that moment?
RPO. You know, it was a run play. It was a run with an RPO tag where you read one side of the field. They didn't show it. He did a good job disguising it. So, you know, good call by them, a good way to hold it. We have an answer for it, you know, but to be honest, I don't think we gave him the tools to expect it, because out of that formation, we didn't expect it, you know. So, you know, of course, anytime the quarterback hit, the O-line's going to take responsibility for it, but it was a run play. We were blocking a run and not necessarily looking for the corner. But in the end, we got to get, like I said in the beginning, we have to give him the true negatives that could happen throughout his Tate Gaines experience. But no, man, we took responsibility for that because we had him reading a side for an RPO, and they brought the guy from the other side. So we got to design that better. You know, we got to protect him because, you know, you're playing with a guy, it's some new stuff for him. Now, I've seen him operate that, and I'm not worried about the correction once he saw it. I'm not worried about it hitting again. But that was a good learning experience, you know, for not only Tate but us saying, all right, what situations are we putting him in to make sure there's not a catastrophic play? But him owning the football in that moment was probably one of the biggest plays of the game. You know, and the negative I hear, but like him making sure he held on to that football probably, you know, guaranteed us a victory.
It's easy for us or fans to talk about players being disciplined when there's, you know, chances for things to kind of, you know, extracurricular activities before or after plays. But it's different when you feel like somebody's disrespecting you or spitting on you or something like that. Like,
Absolutely.
How far have you guys come in not – because I felt like the Miami game and that game, there were plenty of opportunities where guys could have gotten out of character.
That's the first thing we addressed was, you know, in 2021, I believe we came down there and we were undisciplined. We were that team making those kind of mistakes. And, you know, if you want to come out with a victory, you got to understand what it takes and the resolve it takes. But it sounds good. You know, I drive around in Tallahassee. I don't see a lot of resolve out there in road rage, you know. So I think most human beings could not tolerate somebody spitting in their direction, let alone it touching them. So that just shows you that our team focus and their togetherness, because they take what their self-reaction is over what is going to happen to the entire team in a game where we cannot have anything negative, you know, where it could be a penalty that's 15 yards, whether it be a turnover, things like that. So, like, for them to do that, you know, beyond coaching is their relationship with each other. Of course, you know, coaches play a role in it. We got to emphasize it, but that shows you the unselfishness of our team to say, I'm going to stay focused. I gave Byers when they hit Tate. When Keandre, the play before, Meach got stepped on by the same guy. So it's just them focused in the moment on how to win football games. Not only how to win football games, how to win football games that are not going your way, because more games are lost than won. And I think we've learned that. You know, we're not paying attention to the selfish stats or things like that. If it comes down to it, can we have the resolve to go win a football game?
It seems like Keon finds a way to make an impact every game. Obviously, I mean, not his biggest receiving game Saturday. Same for the Miami game, and yet in both games he had a big punt return to set up the what would be the game-winning score. I guess, what's that say about him?
Keon's a ball player, man, and I love what Keon. I mean, if you talk to Keon after the game, he was just happy we beat our in-state rivals. I mean, he's a part of the team and part of the Florida State more than he is saying I'm Keon. You know, he feels like he wants to do whatever he can for the team, man. And he had some disappointing moments. He's like, man, I could have blocked that. You know, he looks at the whole picture of it. So I'm proud of him for that. Even in the offensive meeting, man, you know, I'm gonna do better with those situations. But, you know, Keon's still gonna garner enough attention where, you know, he's still gonna be him. And I've been proud of his just approach, his team effort. But nah, man, that punt return, he's a talented, big. I mean, you know, I haven't been around many of them like him. And I'm not talking about as far as ball player, just type of mentality he brings, just to practice, to work ethic, to whatever you ask him to do. And it bleeds through our team, because if he's like that, how can anybody else be, you know, not be like that? You know, if he's being unselfish, then what's your excuse? You know, so I'm proud of him for that.
What makes Louisville's defense go, and how good of a pass rusher is the Ashton Galot kid?
Yeah, what I told our guys is that we're meeting a mirrored opponent where they pride themselves on the same thing we pride ourselves on. You know, toughness, effort, discipline, winning close games. You know, and that's why we meet them in a championship game. So credit to their defensive staff, because I think they do one of the best jobs I've seen of maintaining leverage, tackling, eliminating big plays. So, it's going to be a challenge of, who can outlast and who can out-tough and who can out-finish. And 9 is a real player. I mean, he's a guy that developed himself into a player, too. He's one that I give a lot of credit to because he gets blocked, but then I like to say he unblocks himself. He understands how to, take advantage of leaning O-linemen and effort. He's relentless. So we got to make sure our effort is up to par. We got to make sure we understand where he is because they do play him quite a bit of places, whether it be 4 out 5 and things like that and twisting. So we got to make sure we bring our game in focus because he is a really dynamic player in this league. But credit to that defense because, we're going to be here for a while because they do a good job.
Coach, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. Can you talk about the decision to not rotate as much and how you felt the offensive line played physically in their stamina throughout the game?
Yeah, Rob was ready to go, and Bless was ready to go. But I felt good with how the size of Byers and the athleticism of theirs with us running the outside zone a little bit more and him being able to cut off things on the backside. And Darius, I thought he played one of his better games in that game. Darius has really, developed himself to be, one of the top tier in that room. So I just rolled with them. But those guys were ready, on call, and ready to go. But I felt that those guys were settling. I was good with it. I put Casey in a little bit later there. I had a plan to get him in a little bit earlier, but I wanted to get him in there to give KJ a spell. But then I put KJ back in late because, like you said, the size. KJ's a massive dude, man, that can make sure we get a little presence in that pocket to not get pushed back. But you got other guys that are athletic that can move and get to those second-level backers. So it's just like anything. It's a matchup, kind of conversation that we have of how we're matching up with the 4s or 4 eyes or 3 techniques and combos and speed and things like that. So it's just like any other position. We're trying to create matchups up front just like you would on the outside, and it's been paying dividends for us.
You mentioned for a couple weeks now that Rob's getting close, and I know he's able to practice. I think he was second team All ACC last year, and you guys haven't had him that much this year. When he does get back on, are you expecting him to be that guy? Has he played at that level of practice, or is it going to be, kind of working his way back to that level?
Yeah, I care about Rob, and I want to make sure because Rob always wants to go. He doesn't care what's hurting or what's going on. So I care about him and his career moving forward to make sure I'm not putting him in an unnecessary position to get even further injured. But he was ready to go. He practiced last week, and he could have went if we needed him to go, and we have that luxury to do that. And he understands that, if he goes, but I don't want to put him on a setback either if he's getting better unless it's absolutely necessary. What I liked about it is he's really embraced that process, and as we further along, we're going to need Rob. And he'll be feeling better than he's ever felt, and he's still getting to work in practice against really good players. So I don't think he's going to be underdeveloped. He's going to be ready to go when it's time to go, but he's also going to be able to be very effective when he goes, and we don't have any setbacks to push us behind as we push late in the season.
Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but you put a true freshman in on the road when the starting quarterback gets knocked out, and his first play is a kind of a sprint throw. I guess, what does that say about y'all's confidence in him, in who he is and who he could be, to even think about calling a play like that in that moment, not being worried about the end result?
I give Brock some credit because, that was something he saw that he got to because he wanted to take advantage of something that he saw. So we have a lot of confidence in Brock, and we have a lot of trust in our quarterbacks. So we don't send him out there just because of the perception of third or first. Our quarterback operates and gets us in what he believes is the right thing to do, and we give him that leeway too. And, I like the call. I wasn't disagreeing with the call. We didn't get into the guy on the edge. He got a bat down. But also, he got in there, and we ran the zone, and he saw an opening. He pulled the ball and got good yardage on it. They were offside, so we were able to get a free play off of it. But now Brock is going to be an exceptional football player. I stand next to him in practice because, I'm right behind the whole action to see the whole deal, and he stands next to me, and I see him. He doesn't miss a rep even when he's not in there. I see him mimicking the checks. I see him taking the reps. I see him taking the visual. I see him applying them himself. I see him upstairs. I was just upstairs. He was already up there coming from class with his backpack on, wanting to know about the game plan. He is preparing himself like a starter ever since I've met him. And he challenges Tony to make sure he's on the question. So Brock's future is going to be, if he continues as he's continued, we have a lot of trust in Brock.
Coach, on offense, a lot of guys chose to come back for this run to help the team potentially win an ACC title, potentially get to a playoff. Just their growth that you've seen through film room, practices, games, and more than the production too, but also the leadership and what they've meant for the big picture.
The biggest thing is ownership and player accountability, meaning, we're going to do our job and make sure we're on point and understanding what the standard is, what's the structure for success. But when a player starts defending what you're saying outside of the building, that's when it's a real, everybody uses the word culture, but that's when it's real and they really are understanding what you're saying, where I might sit up in a meeting room and talk about, hey, we got to be disciplined, we got to be on point. But if you're in practice and something happens that I don't see and I see a player correcting it, that's when it's real. Like, we could talk about this. Every coach gets up here and talk about discipline. We can't make mistakes. We got to do this. And then somebody spits in their face and the kid gets a penalty. So our players are leading the charge and accountability for what they want to do as a team. Now, does that guarantee success? Absolutely not. But it gives you an opportunity to have success. It puts you in the best position to get what you came back to do. But, it still has to be done. The action still has to be there. So I'm going to commend them on taking the real actions to get what they want. Now, you still got to go get it because that other team is doing the same thing. So we got to make sure we're doing it as best as we ever done this week compared to last week.
Coach, I'm going to go back to the first question I asked about offensive line, kind of a follow-up to Ira's question about Rob Scott. When Maurice gets rolled up, my eyes went to a couple of the offensive linemen trying to get him up before the ref called, injured player. If Maurice can't fight through this, Washington goes to center.
Absolutely.
Do you have to play Scott at that point?
We got Bless and Scott. Okay. So it depends on the situation and the matchup. Because we still got Bless, who was going in and he was ready to go. He practiced all week also. So the benefit we have with Darius is, he can play all five. And he's ready to go at all five at any time. So it's not like he has to go and warm up or do anything. He's ready to go. He's done it. He started games at center. So we really try to – every O-line coach in the country says, hey, if a guy goes down, go down so we can warm up with the other guy and we're not wasting time and things like that. But our guys have their own personal standard of operating until you can't operate no more. And if you go down, then you're down for real. So you saw them pick Meach had to play where he had to pick them up, So – I don't ever question those guys' mentality. Of course, they're gonna make mistakes, man. You ain't gonna bat 1,000, but them guys I'm sending out there with their mindset, they're gonna find a way, no matter how it needs to be done. They're gonna scrap and claw and make sure they're together and find a way to come out with the win. Awesome. Thank y'all.
Just in terms of the second half of that game and the way you guys kind of it seemed like you unleashed, a little bit of, getting after the quarterback, bringing pressures, but also seemed to be playing discipline too. Like, how well did you feel like the whole front seven, I guess, played in the second half of that game?
I thought we played well. I really thought, after probably that third drive, I think the first drive, 2, 3, I thought we started to settle in. And so, I thought the whole team as a whole played pretty disciplined throughout the game. We knew it would be that type of football game. We knew it would be an emotional team. But we've proven through most of the year that we can handle that atmosphere and that type of environment. We've been through a lot. We put them through a lot. And I thought our guys responded to all situations. Even after that safety when, I looked those guys in the eyes as they were about to take the field, and they were ready for the moment. And there was no head down. It was just all about, this is a long football game. We got to go out there and get stops.
Anything else? Let's go back to Ira.
Jared had some moments. We've seen him have great moments before, but it seemed like almost like he was taking over that game by himself at some points. Just how impressed were you with his play?
Yeah, big-time players make big-time plays in those type of games, and Jared proved it. And, that one sack that he made with the offensive tackle is a pretty impressive play. We've seen him do that, a number of times. He's just so powerful. And when you mix his get off and his explosiveness, it's hard. I mean, it's pretty simple to understand. If you're worried about somebody running around you, you got to speed up. In order to speed up, you get on your heels. Then when somebody that powerful puts his foot in the ground and goes to power, I mean, that's a tough thing to deal with. And I think what helped us, especially some of those sacks late, we got them in a 2-possession game, and our guys were able to pin their ears back. We were able to do some things coverage-wise to make them hold the ball a little bit longer, and I think that's when that showed up. He actually had that caused fumble. Unfortunately, it ricocheted off of the quarterback's knee and rolled out of bounds. But I thought we did a better job of tackling the ball too. We had 2 balls on the ground. We had a chance at maybe another pick too. So, all those things are starting to mount up as the season goes.
2 things about Keem Dent. One, his overall play, how impressive was it, especially for a guy who's kind of nearing the end? And secondly, the penalty called on him, how frustrating was it in that moment, in that play that he had made?
I thought Keem played outstanding. We've seen it throughout his career, when balls have broken, his ability to make some one-on-one plays. I think he's wanted to put a game like that together. I thought his practices the last 5 or 6 weeks have been really good. I know he knows the clock's running out on his time here as a Seminole, and just to see him on that environment, on that stage, against some really talented running backs. But what happens when you play really talented backs is you need really talented players too, and Akeem's one of those. But when his number was called, that's one of those things when you're playing, defense. Everybody talks about one-on-ones and ability to make some plays. But when you're on a good defense and balls are in space and the whole crowd thinks this is a good play, and then you got a free defensive player and he goes and gets the guy down and we go to the next play, it takes a lot of momentum away from that offense. And I thought Keem showed that on 3 or 4 independent occasions. So I thought he played really well. Regarding the sack that he had to knock them deep in a field goal, it was the only touchdown they had was when they gave him another life. But, I thought that was a well-timed pressure. It was really hit by him, and what I love, though, is when it didn't work out and they gave him the first down and goal, you didn't see a lot of body language from him. You saw some body language from other people, but you didn't see any from Keem. And I thought that showed a lot of maturity for him to go back and, try to get a stop there. Unfortunately, they got in the end zone. But, he's become a really good blitzer. I think, you pair him with Shai and what we've done at that position over the last couple of years of entering those guys into the box and in the rush. I think Akeem's really taken those steps.
Obviously, the sacks that did count, Patrick Payton had a couple of them, and especially I think 2 of them came on that. Both of them came on that one of the second to last drive. Just how much does that open up when he's able to be as effective as he was in that game? For Jared, for Braden, who had I think a half a sack or one full sack. How much does it open up for everyone else when both your edges are playing that well?
Well, I think when you look at the totality of the season, because when you get to the end of the year, there's a lot of plays that offenses need to dig through, just like we have to dig through as you're planning for the next game. And when you have guys like Kalen DeLoach that have had good sack numbers, you've got to deal with Braden Fisk. We got Malcolm Ray has done a good job. Josh Farmer has gotten in the backfield with some number of sacks. And then you have the Verse, and then you have Patrick, but then you have the ability to have a Keem Dent coming off the edge or Shaheem. I think it just offers a lot of variety, and I think that's important when you're playing defense. Obviously Jared's gotten a lot of attention. Patrick has the ability to win all of his one-on-ones. And we have a number of defensive linemen, linebackers, and DBs that can do that. I think ideally that's how you try to put your defense together, that you can come from different places, but then you have the ability to win multiple one-on-ones. And I think you saw that Saturday night, especially when it became that 2-possession game at the end of the game. And it was an obvious throwdown. You want to make that where we're really the ones on offense.
I'm sure, unfortunately, you still remember the impact Ricky Pearsall made in last year's game for Floirda. Obviously different.
In the first half?
Yeah, in the first half, yes. And it obviously very different. This year only had 1 catch. I think y'all kept him below. He was on pace for a 1,000-yard season. I guess, what's that speak to about? I mean, I think he lines up in the slot a lot. And so I know Jerry and Greedy, and I know they did similar with Xavier Restrepo a few weeks before, just the high level they've played at and what that does for the whole secondary.
Yeah, I mean, I thought our pass defense was really good. You know, as a totality, I thought we played good football in that game. I mean, we were going to need, you know, in that as that game got going, we knew we would need the defense, just like you do all the time, right? It's no secret to play really good at the end of the season. You better be playing really good defense. And you know, I think when you take receivers away, a lot of attention goes to the guy lined up over him, which should. You know, I thought Jarian did a great job. You know, I thought Greedy gave us really good snaps. You know, but it's a group effort. You know, it's a group effort with the front, with the back end, and you know, I thought we did a really good job of really limiting any explosive plays that they would had. You know, the things that you don't see is the play designs that they have for him, and you see a safety on top, you see a corner, Ventrell, Renardo, or AZ in a bracket form, and there's really no place to go with the football. And especially when you play a young quarterback, you know, I'm sure all week they're taught about, as much as you're trying to be aggressive probably on offense, you're still coaching the bad stuff. Hey, don't throw the ball when you get this look. Don't throw the ball when you get that look. So, you know, you get scared of trying to put that ball in there. I thought we gave them a lot of those pictures. Credit to our players for understanding. You know, they got the back involved in the pass game early. So, you know, our players adjusted that pretty well, and, you know, it allowed for some of the pressures to show up. And then the back started to stay in a little bit more, and we're allowed to go back to a little bit of coverage. So I thought it was just a good game overall, and we needed that group to play well, and I thought they did.
Look ahead to Louisville. What do you see in that offense and keys for preparation this week?
Yeah, I mean, they're playing a championship game for a reason, you know, and I think it starts, you know, they got a real veteran quarterback that Coach Brahm had a history with. They have two running backs that, you know, obviously you got to give a credit to their offensive line because they've created some space, but they've been dominant running the football. And, you know, you look at all the games that they, you know, in the games that they weren't able to run the football, they were able to throw the football. So they have balance. But I think if you ask them, that balance has been created through the run game, you know, and I think their action throws off of the run are really good. I think you couldn't compare them a little bit to Floirda from a standpoint of, I think they do a really good job. It's, you know, the second head coach that's calling the offense that we played in the last 2 weeks, and you see the play designs. There's a reason they're in those positions, because you see a lot of the motions, you see a lot of the run actions designed to be coherent with the pass game. And I think that's what good offensive play design does. And then they have the screen game that they throw off of it. You know, there's some under center actions that have screens off of it. And, you know, I think when you have two good running backs and you're able to block well and play as one up front, you got a veteran quarterback, and then you add a couple of playmakers on the perimeter, that's what a championship offense starts to look like, and that's why they're in the game.
Your last three D1 opponents were all freshman quarterbacks. One was making his first start, one was making his second start, the Pitt kid, third start, fourth start. Now you're facing a sixth-year quarterback. Does it change? I mean, I know that's probably a dumb question. I apologize. Does it change the way you coordinate a defense, knowing you're not going to probably show this guy anything he hasn't seen, and you maybe can't rattle a sixth-year guy like you could a kid making his first or second start?
Well, we've rattled some veteran guys before, and I think it's important to do that this week. You know, I think getting pressure on him, I think when you can run the ball well, sixth-year or redshirt freshman or true freshman, it's going to help that player significantly. You know, there are things that we've planned to be in this game. And I think when you're playing championship level football and you're playing this late in the season, you're going to be good at the things you do, but you're always building for the next step. And I think it's important. We've been working on some things that we've had for a while, and, you know, you're not waiting anymore to use those things. And I think that's important as you get towards the end of the season. You don't redesign, okay, now we're going to change everything. You don't do that. But when you're on a good team, you can work ahead while game planning for other things. And you may not always know the opponent that you'll be playing late in the season, but you can play some offense on defense. And I think it's important that you do that throughout the year. That's why we have those Sunday practices too. And if you play well the week before, you have less corrections to really address that time. And you can move ahead and you can start saying, okay, these are plays that we have off of these calls, or pressures we have off of these looks. And you keep working those things. So, you know, hopefully, you know, on paper, and when you've played so many games as he's played, yes, you've seen a lot of different football, but hopefully our execution, the speed that we do those pictures, and maybe some things he hasn't seen from us, hopefully those things make it difficult for him to play faster, and hopefully that's what shows up Saturday.
You weren't here when Keem got here, but his career's been probably not what he expected as a big time. He was as big a time recruit as he could have been. Changing positions, going through some different things. How much has he grown as a player in terms of preparation and all the things that showed up on Saturday?
Keem's always been a very mature person. He handles himself well in the classroom, off the field. He's always been really loved by his teammates. That's been the consistent. Obviously he went through a little bit of a position change early in his career here, but he went through a bunch of injuries too. And, there was, last year in that Florida game, he couldn't play, and he's been battling injuries throughout, even at the beginning of the year this year. And so he's finally, yes, I think he's playing his best football now. That's the cliche thing to say. But I think it's just a product of who he's been throughout the years. I don't think it's just, oh, wow, he's really good now. I think everything's caught up to him. And I think all the things he's done for the last 4 or 5 years here has come to a pinnacle for him to play his best football, here at the end. And there wasn't anybody, obviously I was excited for everybody involved in the program, the way that game ended and the way the season has gone. But I had a special place in my heart for Keem, just to see the smile on his face, because he was proud of himself, because he knows how far he's had to come, both to become healthy, to have those opportunities show up in a game of that magnitude. And now, a game like that will live forever for him. And I know, going into this championship week, this is a big week for all of us. But I'm excited about the momentum he's created for himself.
Coach, they started off the game 5 for 6 on third down. They were 2 for 10 the rest of the way. Was there a specific adjustment, or like you said earlier, it was just about the defense settling down?
I think early in those first couple drives, they got in a few of the unbalanced sets, and it's one of those things you walk through them even on Saturday morning. You go through on Tuesday, and just like I talked to Corey a little bit about, there may be something that you're doing that's a little bit of a tweak, but the speed of the game, the energy of the game, all of a sudden they don't see it super clearly. So in that early drive, we're trying to get it right during the drive, and it wasn't really clean. One of the third downs they hit was just a one-on-one on the backside, and something that we should have played better, but it happens. And they did a good job. That was a team that was scoring a good amount of points. They were able to run the ball really well on a lot of good teams, and I thought our guys just really settled in, and it's important. We have a mature group. So what does that mean? Emotionally, when you get them on the sidelines, you're not trying to get them calm down or get them in the right mindset to be able to go play. You can really focus on, all right, this is what's happening, and this is what we've worked on. Remember, this is how we're playing. Or, hey, we weren't prepared for this, but this is what they're doing. This is how we got to respond to it. This is how we're going to play it. Everybody on the same page? And then they communicate to each other, and then we go and play. And I think you just see that, and hopefully you can make those adjustments, play by play. Sometimes it goes series by series, and I think our guys are mature enough, and that goes back to just the summer. We've been trying to challenge these guys year round, and they've answered the bell each time we've done it. Thanks, guys. See y'all. See you guys. You too.
How close was that to actually getting off? Did you guys like the picture that presented? And just how aggravating is it not to get the opportunity to run that play, because obviously you showed it with the penalty?
I mean, it was frustrating. It was one that, some weeks we carry it, some weeks we don't. We thought that the look presented itself for us going into the week. It was something that we had worked on. The issue with it is it is a check, and, it's based on the look that we get. Being a little bit louder there, the communication took a little bit longer than obviously desired. And we were probably a half a second away from being able to get it off. But that starts with me in terms of creating that sense of urgency in the practice to make sure that we are able to get it off. But it could have been a obviously huge play in the game, and definitely is a missed opportunity since we weren't able to get that run, because it was obviously there and it was executed pretty well.
Keon Coleman had that punt return. I think he went back on that one, caught the ball, and was able to. Was it just like did he outkick his coverage, or was it just like you guys like the blocking as well? What was it was a combination of both, or
probably a combination of both. I mean, obviously their punter had a big night. He has a very strong leg, and we did feel like if Keon was able to go get one, there would be an opportunity to at least get it started. And I thought our guys did a fantastic job blocking. Keon did a great job of setting some blocks up and getting up into the return, and that was a big play in the game. I think we needed that at that moment, and that's one of the things that when we point at, you never know which play is going to be kind of the one. And we've been able to do that on special teams to spark some momentum shifts throughout the course of this year, and I thought that was a big play in that game as well.
Coach, Jared Verse and Patrick Payton played each around 50 snaps. You didn't rotate as much. How impressed with you above all about their stamina and their physicality that they played with for continuous 60 minutes?
Well, in the first half we did probably rotate more than we did in the second half. There's a lot of things that kind of factor into that, and one of them certainly is how long the series are. In the first half, they were able to establish some longer drives, which keeps guys on the field a little bit more than you would maybe like. In the second half, we were able to get a lot of 3-and-outs. There's a lot of TV timeout, a lot of media stuff going on in those nationally televised games. So there's a lot of time for them to rest in between series. So I just thought the sheer number of plays that we played in the second half was what allowed those guys to play more than maybe they would typically play in terms of splitting reps in a game.
Two questions. First, have y'all played the best schedule of punters in the history of college football? I mean, that kid last night was better than the Duke kid. And did you know that going in, that he had that kind of leg?
We did. I mean, we knew going in that he was a really good player. We had a high level of respect for who he was. And, I think there's a couple things that lead to that. I think the training is probably so much better than it's ever been. I think now that that's the one position that we recruit really internationally across the board. So, that was another Australian kicker. They tend to be older, so like these guys are like men now playing as well. But I think there's a lot that factors into it. But we definitely have seen some really good punters. But I kind of like it from the standpoint that it does allow us to get some returns started. I'd much rather play that and have Keon have 15 yards of space before anyone's there than a guy who's hitting at 30 and 35 yards and there's people right on top of him every play.
And speaking of that, so the punt right before the safety where it gets down at the 6, when I watched the replay, Keon could have caught it at the 8, and there was nobody even at the 20-yard line. He could have just caught it and run forward for about 10 or 12 yards. Did y'all have a talk after that, and that's why he went and caught the next one? And because it was a very similar situation on the punt return he had for the 34 yards.
I mean, I think there was 3 of them that were very similar. There was the one that checked up, and they were able to down it. There was the one that he caught and ran back, but then there was the one that went in the end zone. And really what he was thinking on the one that checked up was that he thought it was going to hit hard enough to go into the end zone. He was trying to draw the touchback out of it because, and those are always the toughest calls to make, and like I said before, and I reiterate with him all the time, I trust him, and sometimes he's going to make a decision that doesn't work out, but that doesn't mean that I want him to second guess some of the decisions he's making. Because I think every week he's getting better and better, more confident, and he's had 3 or 4 really explosive returns. So, the one I wish we would have fielded, right? That checked up at the 6, but I'm also glad he didn't field the one that went into the end zone. So there can be a little bit of a catch-22 in terms of that, and I just want him to make the best decisions he possibly can because I do trust who he is and his decision-making ability.
We spent a lot of time on a play that didn't matter, that fake punt, but is part of getting that play off on time, but also not, and you got to check to it, but not also like looking like you're rushing to a fake or something like that? I mean, is that any part of it at all?
No, I think, when you watch, there's a lot of times we have to check our protections, and so I don't think that part would have stood out. I do think probably made a really big point of emphasis with the potential of crowd noise, with being on the road in that environment, of making sure that we over-communicated. Because the worst thing that you can have happen is that not everybody's on the same page in terms of that. And, with all that being said, there still has to be great shot clock awareness. We still have to be able to snap it. And, we probably missed it by about a half a second. But, I got to get them out faster. We got to operate with a greater sense of urgency. We probably needed to practice it with a greater sense of urgency, although the environment wasn't going to be the same. But there's a lot of things that factored into it, but it was disappointing because it was a missed opportunity in a game where we needed to get that spark, and that may have been able to have been that.
Staying on the fake punt, I know, and this might be a silly question, but in a game like that, when you're playing a desperate team, when you call the fake punt first, does it kind of take away the element of surprise that they try to do it, like, because they had a 4th and 1 that kind of looked like a situation they could have done the fake punt as well in?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people say that you want to get your fake or your trick play run before they run theirs, but like being on the other side of it, if somebody else did that, like that doesn't mean that we would have no intention of doing it later on. But 4th and 1, we weren't going to allow that to happen. I mean, we were in our punt safe when they were in that, so we left our defense on the field. And then in terms of just having that opportunity, really, we try to be very aggressive in what we do from a special team standpoint. The reason why we faked the punt in that situation was because the look was there, and it was something that we saw on tape and it was there. The reason why we tried some of the onside kicks and some of the other things that have showed up is because they've presented themselves as being there and taking advantage of the opportunities. So we always want to look for ways to spark, a big play for us. And, when we see those opportunities, we certainly take advantage of them.
We'll go to Ira for the last one.
Jared was pretty sensational. Had some sensational plays in that game. What do you think that does for him? I mean, he's not a guy that lacks confidence, but I mean that's a game that'll be remembered individually for him as well.
Oh yeah, no, it was his opportunity to make a statement, and kind of have his place and Seminole history in terms of big game rivalries. It kind of reminded me a little bit. I thought about it afterwards of how a couple years ago Jermaine had a really big game against Miami, and he was able to get, I think, 3 sacks in that game and really forced a fumble. Kind of really impacted that game. And I felt the same way about that as I did about Jared's game the other day in terms of here it is in a critical rivalry matchup with obviously a lot higher stakes, because of where things are. But for him to go out and play his best in that game and that environment when we really needed it, I was proud for him, happy for what he was able to get done. And, hopefully that just continues to roll into this week.
Thanks, JP.
Thank you, guys.